Pieces of siding everywhere, and you're going to find this all. There's a bridge that goes over 266 right there. The shutdown starts at 8 o'clock this morning, and this storm is hitting very close to home for this Olympian here, Tonga's flag bearer. You see a church steeple here, a firefighter down here. Well, they responded after lightning hit the steeple. They're turning human waste into safe-to-use fertilizer that looks just like this. This woman, she came out of the hospital. Check out what she's wearing. She's still in her gown, and she's saluting as that procession goes by. All right, happening right now, the northeastern United States is getting hit with this major storm. You see the reporter and photographer there driving through the snowy roads. From Philadelphia to Boston, people in the Northeast will see everything from snow to soaking rains, high winds, and flooding over the next 2 days.
A community's boil order has stretched into its 4th year now.
I visited Moore Bend and Taney County to investigate how the community is coping and what, if anything, is being done to fix the problem. The views are stunning in Moore Bend. It's surrounded by the waters of Bull Shoals. But there's one big problem: the tap water.
I don't drink it.
There's bottled water, jugs of water everywhere. And if you want to wash dishes, you better add a disinfectant, or you could get sick.
I put bleach in it. There is bleach in my water.
And if you want to brush your teeth, you better grab this. The state issued a boil water order on February 5th, 2013. 2013.
And we were just informed.
Celia and her neighbors get their water from 2 wells. The wells are under these small white buildings. The state says it issued the original boil water order due to E. coli, or fecal bacteria, in the wells.
I got sick, about got plumb down.
We're paying for a product that's total crap.
The state even gave the water system a cleanup plan a couple years ago. But the residents here never thought it would happen. Now they've built up 4 years of skepticism. And by the way, the water bill's gone up in that time too.
After they raised the rate, I couldn't even afford to water my chicken. That's all I used it for. If it's bad water, it's not even good for the chickens.
State regulators eventually filed a complaint. It could lead to fines. In testimony in this case, a state examiner had this to say: Moore Bend has failed to properly test the water supply to its customers, has failed to provide adequate documentation concerning chlorination, has failed to properly notify its customers of the boil water order that's been going on for so long, and the state says the water system has cast iron pipes, causing discoloration of the drinking water.
Oh, it pisses me off to no end. I mean, it's not right. It's not right. How come it's taking so long to do it?
We wanted to talk to Moore Bend about all these issues.
Hi, Paul Adler from KY3.
But they hung up on us twice before saying no to an interview. In case documents, Moore Bend's lawyer denies the state's allegations. The company also says bacteria levels no longer exceed state standards. But the people here aren't buying it. They're just paying for it.
But their minimum charge is $38 a month just to have their E. coli water. We have the privilege of paying for it.
Moore Bend, beautiful, peaceful. But if you visit, here's the advice: don't drink the water.
I mean, we've fallen through the cracks here, I think. You know, it's like nobody cares. There's not enough of us.
We've asked the State Department of Natural Resources several questions about this case. Right now, we're waiting for their answers. Meantime, the latest filings in the complaint against Moore Bend indicate that there may be a possible end to this long saga. The state and the water company will meet for a hearing on April 27th. We'll update the story after that hearing. A detective mission tracing the water from one stream and finding out where it goes.
Fluorescein.
That's the stuff we're about to pour into this creek. Fluorescein is a dye that will turn Hampton Hollow bright green.
Okay, now I'm going to pour it in the water here.
This non-toxic dye can solve a mystery. Where does that water go when it sinks into the ground? Right there.
It's a very effective way of tracing
You might think that you'd find the dye in the stream, but really you find it with one of these. This is a charcoal packet.
It will absorb the dye and retain it. In this packet, there's over an acre of surface area. We often see salamanders here in the shaft.
Tom really wanted to know the answer to the creek's disappearing act because he owns this cave just 800 feet away from Hampton Hollow's sinking stream of water. What is this that we're seeing right here?
This is we call it the first waterfall zone.
Tom Ailey bought Tumbling Creek Cave in 1965. He wanted to establish an underground lab, a move that had some former coworkers wondering if he was a mad scientist.
It has a lot of physical diversity. It was in very good condition, as it still is. And I was fortunate enough to be able to buy it. This is the big room.
170 feet below, nothing mad is happening. Instead, it's all science and study.
Yeah, we have a few different probes set up in there.
Scientist Nathan Keith is measuring Tumbling Creek's oxygen, temperature, pH, and more.
So this is the actual data logger itself.
Tracking the health of the stream is a way to protect the unique species down here, like a one-of-a-kind millipede. Tom named it after himself. It's called Ailey's millipede. From their study, they know that what happens above does not stay above.
It's an out of sight, out of mind kind of issue where they're not worrying about it. Well, down here we see that it's not out of sight.
Very little water is this kind, the kind that gets filtered in a slow drip way. Most of it races down here in waterfalls and in Tumbling Creek. We'll explain the importance of knowing that in just a second. First, remember those charcoal packets? There are a bunch down here.
We strip anything that's adsorbed onto the charcoal.
Back on solid ground, we're heading to the spot where that disappearing stream reappeared.
This is a mile from where we put the dye in the ground. It didn't go to the cave.
While the results from our study aren't ready yet, Tom knows where the water popped up from a previous dye trace.
It went to the well that was down here.
And that water did not get filtered. It raced through the ground, carrying the parasites from the manure that the cows used to leave along Hampton Hollow. That's why the well is now sealed up. Would you say the old well was dangerous to people?
Sure, because in the karst system, it's a lot of wide open passages that does not filter out materials like the cryptosporidium. Tom
hopes his studies here keep those little cave creatures safe, and us too.
In the long run, we're part of this ecosystem. If the ecosystem is not protected, then that's not good for us either.
Tom does recommend that you test your well water once a year if you're using a private well. When the latest dye test comes in, we'll let you know also if Tom found any surprise. There's a brand new station on the dial in Springfield. It's so unique, people around the world are tuning in on the net. Tucked into a backyard with petunias, a couple bikes, and a ladder, a radio was playing the blues. This is part of a radio station, KWPQ-LP. It's almost hidden at 103.3.
It's a little labor of love. It's a little dream come true.
Gary Lawson is the engineer. Jay Rivenberg is the muscle.
I dig the hole. I put the tower together.
These two have a chemistry like B.B. King and King's guitar, Lucille.
Jay keeps me honest on, I'll say, well, I think we could take this and do this with it and angle it this way and tie it off like this. And Jay just turns around and walks off. And this is a steep climb down the basement.
Don't expect glitz, gloss, and glamour. This is gritty. For now, the transmitter sits next to a sump pump.
Pretty small. I mean, we're only pushing 100 watts ERP.
Just a hop, skip, and a microwave jump away, Gary's former office. It serves as the nameless station studio.
It changes from the pit to the cave to the bat cave, but generally it's just the studio. We're running a library of about 33,000 blues tunes.
You won't hear commercials, no politics, and despite the mics, there's rarely, if ever, a live DJ. And anybody can record an ID. Just pick up your phone, start recording. You're listening to KWPQ LP, home of your blues, Springfield, Missouri. If you're trying to tune in right now and can't find it, there's hope. A new tower is going up soon.
This is actually the base section for the new tower that's going up. We're going to get another 4 meters of height out of it, and it will get the signal up and further out.
While Gary gives to the station, he's waiting for a gift of a kidney donor.
Probably the worst thing is fatigue. I'm not accustomed to getting tired.
But don't expect him to sing the blues or even talk much about being sick.
I plan on staying on the air.
He just wants you to listen and feel the bass, the beat, the love.
That's KWPQ right there.
It took Gary 3 years to get the license for that low-power FM station. Since going on the air this spring, he spent about $7,000 of his own money to get it up and running and playing the blues. Springfield High School is on alert this morning. Attorney General Jeff Sessions testifies before the Senate Judiciary Committee today. Democrats want to hear that Sessions will not interfere with the investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election. Sessions denied that he talked to Russians about the election during his confirmation hearing, but the Attorney General later admitted that he met twice with a top Russian diplomat. Those forces are now removing landmines and clearing main roads in the city of Raqqa. Analysts say ISIS remains dangerous, but it's now less effective without a safe haven. I already know. They have a big selection
stash over there?
Bond, James Bond books and comics. But Jasmine Tell knows these aren't the only bargains. Jasmine. Time now, 5:09. Looks like a clear overnight early morning on the KY3 tower there. Brandon's in next with the day temps could hit 80.